Just pretend you love me for 1 minute. He leaned in to kiss her and steal against Wild West. The sun hung low over Iron Ridge, a town that looked like it had been carved out of the desert and stitched together with metal. Dust swirled across the wooden walkways, shimmering in the light of the twin suns, while hovering carts rattled quietly on magnetic rails. Windmills, their blades glowing faintly with solar energy, turned lazily in the warm breeze, and robotic cattle ambled through the streets, their mechanical joints clinking softly. Cassian Cass Harper adjusted his wide-brimmed hat, shading his eyes from the harsh sunlight. He paused at the edge of the main street, boots kicking up a puff of dust as he watched the small crowd gathering near the Glitter Spur, the town's only saloon. The place was infamous for its strange blend of old Western charm and futuristic neon signs. The swinging doors squeaked as a group of tourists from a nearby mining colony passed through, cameras flashing at the floating tables and the bartender's robotic arm pouring drinks with perfect precision. Cass smirked. A lot had changed in Iron Ridge over the years, but some things stayed the same, like the way people still loved a little drama with their drinks. He pushed open the saloon doors and stepped inside, the warm smell of roasted coffee beans, fried food, and faint ozone greeting him. The room buzzed with conversation, laughter, and the occasional clang of steel boots on metal floors. At the far end, a small stage hosted a holographic piano player, its fingers moving gracefully over invisible keys. Cass ignored the distractions. He had his own reason for being there. Near the center of the room, leaning over a hovering stagecoach that had clearly seen better days, was Lila Vance. Her hair was tied back in a messy braid, a streak of grease across her cheek, and her hands were busy tightening a set of cables that hummed with energy. She was small but fierce, her sharp green eyes scanning the mechanism like she could see its innermost secrets. Cass grinned. He'd known Lila for a while, though their relationship had always been complicated. There was the playful teasing, the occasional arguments, and the undeniable spark that neither of them wanted to admit out loud. He sauntered over, boots clanking softly against the floor, and leaned casually against the edge of the stagecoach. "Just pretend you love me for 1 minute," he said with a teasing smile, his voice low so only she could hear. Lila paused, a screwdriver in her hand, and gave him a mock glare. "Cass, you are impossible," she replied, though her lips twitched in amusement. 1 minute? "That's all you want? You can barely manage 30 seconds. Cass laughed, leaning a little closer. 30 seconds is a lot if you do it right. Before Lila could respond, a loud whirring noise filled the air. Both of them looked toward the saloon doors just as a sleek silver transport craft slammed into the dusty street outside. The small ship skidded to a halt, its cargo compartment sealed with a bright blue energy field. Sparks flew as its magnetic stabilizers fought against the uneven ground. The sudden arrival silenced the room for a moment. Cass and Lila exchanged a glance. "What in the stars?" Lila muttered, setting her tools down and stepping toward the door. Cass followed immediately, curiosity shining in his eyes. Outside, the townsfolk had begun to gather, whispering and pointing at the strange craft. Robotic police units hovered above, scanning the area with glowing red sensors. But no one made a move to open the cargo. Something about it screamed off-limits. "Looks like someone didn't read the welcome sign," Cass said, his voice low. Lila's eyes narrowed. "Or they didn't care," she said. Without another word, she activated a small tool on her wrist, sending a thin beam of light toward the energy field surrounding the cargo compartment. The field shimmered but didn't break. Lila frowned. It's locked with a quantum seal. Not even the town's mayor could open this." Cass chuckled. "Well, that's never stopped us before. I meant it literally. This thing is sealed. We can't touch it." But curiosity burned in both of them, stronger than caution. They stepped closer, studying the unusual markings etched into the metal of the craft. Symbols glowed faintly in the sunlight, shifting like they had a life of their own. Cass reached out, but Lila grabbed his wrist gently. "Wait," she said. "If we trigger it wrong, we might not just break the lock. We could—" "'Cause an interstellar incident?" he suggested with a grin. Lila smirked, shaking her head. "Exactly." The two of them leaned over the craft, working together in silence. Lila's hands moved with precision over the intricate panels, while Cass offered suggestions, pointing out weak points in the field's energy distribution. The townsfolk watched, whispering and craning their necks. Even the robotic police units seemed to pause, as if curious about what two humans could accomplish together. Finally, with a quiet click, a section of the energy field flickered and opened. Inside lay a small metallic orb, hovering just above a pedestal. It glowed softly, humming with a gentle pulse that seemed almost alive. Lila's eyes widened. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Cass leaned closer, his face reflecting the soft blue light. "What does it do?" Lila tilted her head, studying it carefully. "I don't know yet, but it's definitely not from around here. Look at the inscriptions. It's some kind of alien tech." Cass whistled softly. "Well, that explains why someone crashed it in the middle of our dusty little town." A moment of quiet passed, the kind of moment where the world feels paused, and all that exists is curiosity and connection. Cass, forgetting himself for a second, leaned in toward Lila. She looked up at him, her heart skipping a beat, just as he was about to close the gap. A sudden pulse of light shot from the orb, flickering and glowing like a miniature star. Cass froze mid-lane, boots sliding slightly on the metal floor, and Lila laughed, reaching out to steady him. "You really can't even lean in properly, can you?" she teased, shaking her head. Cass laughed, rubbing the back of his neck. "It's the orb's fault." "Totally." "Sure. Let's just get this thing inside before someone else decides to claim it." Together they lifted the orb carefully, carrying it into the saloon. The townsfolk followed at a respectful distance, murmuring and pointing. Cass and Lila set the orb on one of the tables, and Lila began scanning it with her portable analyzer. The orb's hum grew louder as she worked, vibrating gently like it was aware of their attention. Cass leaned back against the table, watching her. "You know," he said quietly, "for someone who doesn't pretend to like me for even a minute, you sure spend a lot of time letting me help." Lila glanced at him, raising an eyebrow. "Maybe I just like having someone to hold the ladder while I save the galaxy," she replied lightly, though her tone carried a softness only Cass could hear. The hum of the orb seemed to sync with the rhythm of their conversation, as if acknowledging the start of something new. Outside, the twin suns dipped lower, casting long shadows across Iron Ridge. Dust swirled around the town like it had its own stories to tell, and for Cass and Lila, one such story was just beginning. A story of curiosity, adventure, and perhaps a connection neither of them had expected. As the night air cooled and the neon lights of the saloon flickered to life, Cass whispered half to himself, half to the orb, "Whatever you are, I think we're going to figure you out together." And with that, the first sparks of an extraordinary adventure in Iron Ridge were lit, hidden among laughter, curiosity, and the soft, pulsing hum of a steel orb that held secrets waiting to be discovered. The night in Iron Ridge was calm, but the twin moons painted the desert in silver and soft blue shadows, making every metal surface glow faintly. Inside the glitter spur, the small saloon smelled of roasted coffee and mechanical oil, with a hint of excitement in the air. The townsfolk had gone home, leaving Cass and Lila alone with the glowing orb. Lila tapped at the orb carefully with a thin tool, her fingers moving with precision. Tiny lights danced across the surface, shifting colors in response to her touch. Cass watched, fascinated. "Do you know what it is yet?" he asked, leaning against the table. His voice was quiet, almost reverent. Lila shook her head, eyes glued to the orb. "No, but it's definitely not normal tech. Look at these patterns. They're not just symbols. They're instructions, like a puzzle." A puzzle, huh? Great. You know how I love puzzles." She shot him a sharp look. "You mean you love pretending to know puzzles?" Cass laughed. "Touché." For the next hour, they worked together in silence, the orb humming softly, like it had a heartbeat. Every time Lila touched a symbol, the glow shifted, revealing faint images. A canyon, strange crystals, and mechanical structures buried beneath sand and rock. "It's a map," Lila said finally, her eyes wide. "I think it's showing the place, a hidden canyon or something buried beneath the desert." Cass leaned in closer, studying the holographic projection. "Why would someone hide it here in Iron Ridge?" Lila shrugged. Maybe it was lost, or maybe someone wanted it to be found by the right person. Whoever left it must have trusted someone like us. Cass raised an eyebrow. "Me? Really?" "You're curious enough to follow it. That counts." A small beep interrupted them, coming from Lila's wrist device. She glanced at it. Someone, or something, is trying to track the orb. We're not the only ones looking at it." Cass's grin returned, sharper this time. "Then I guess we better make sure it doesn't get away from us." The next morning, Iron Ridge awoke under the twin sun's glare. Cass and Lila packed their essentials for the journey: energy rations, water, a portable toolkit for Lila, and Cass's well-worn map of the desert plains. The orb hovered between them, glowing softly as if sensing their urgency. Cass mounted his solar hoverbike, a sleek machine that skimmed the sand rather than touching it. Lila climbed onto hers, her braids swinging in the morning light.
"Ready?" Cass asked. Lila nodded.
"Let's see where this canyon hides." The hoverbikes lifted off together, engines humming softly. The desert stretched endlessly before them, red and gold sands rolling like waves. Robotic cattle grazed quietly on solar-powered grass patches, unbothered by the intruders crossing their land. Occasionally, Cass and Lila passed small settlements where people waved at the unusual pair riding gleaming bikes under twin suns. The orb hovered between them, projecting faint light patterns that guided them across the desert. Lila adjusted a few symbols, trying to interpret the projection's hidden directions. "This map isn't like any regular map," she explained. "It's interactive. It reacts to us, maybe even to our intentions." Cass laughed softly. "You mean it knows we're clever and handsome?" Lila rolled her eyes. "You wish." Hours passed, and the desert's heat rose, softening into an orange glow as the twin suns began to set. Cass and Lila found themselves in a narrow valley, sand swirling gently in the evening breeze. The orb pulsed brighter, its light reflecting on the canyon walls, revealing strange markings etched deep into the rock. Cass parked his hoverbike, wiping sweat from his brow. "Looks like we found our place." Lila dismounted, her eyes scanning the canyon. "I think so. Look at these markings. They match the orb's projections exactly. This must be the entrance." They approached a large rock face, and the orb hovered near a circular indentation. As Lila placed her hand on it, the rock began to shift slowly, revealing a hidden passageway. A cool breeze drifted out, carrying the faint smell of metal and sand. Cass whistled softly. "Well, someone went to a lot of trouble to hide this." Lila smiled, brushing sand from her pants. "Not just hide it. Protect it. Whoever built this wanted only the right person to find it." The passage led down into a cavern filled with ancient machinery, its surfaces polished but dusty, as if untouched for decades. Strange crystals glowed softly along the walls, reflecting the orb's light. The cavern felt alive, humming gently, as if acknowledging their presence. Cass and Lila moved carefully, exploring the machinery. Some parts seemed familiar, like old steam engines, while others glowed with alien energy. The orb pulsed, hovering near a massive console covered in strange symbols. "Looks like the controls respond to the orb," Lila said, excitement clear in her voice. "I think it wants us to interact with it." Cass raised an eyebrow. "I guess we're in charge of this thing now." Lila tapped a few symbols on the console, and a holographic projection filled the cavern. Images of the desert, hidden caves, and flowing streams of crystal energy appeared, showing them the way deeper into the canyon. "It's incredible," she whispered. "It's like a map and a guide all in one. This canyon, it's full of secrets." Cass smiled, looking at her. "And we're the first to see them in who knows how long. Feels like the start of a real adventure, doesn't it?" Lila glanced at him, their eyes meeting in the soft glow of the orb. For a moment, the world outside seemed to vanish. The desert, the canyon, everything. Only the hum of the orb, their shared excitement, and the silent promise of discovery remained. Cass leaned in slightly, the unspoken question hanging in the air. But before anything could happen, the orb pulled sharply, sending a small wave of light across the cavern. Both of them stepped back, startled, and the moment passed, leaving them laughing at their own nervousness. "We should probably focus on the canyon itself," Lila said, shaking her head with a smile. Before the orb decides to zap us for flirting." Cass chuckled. "Fine, but I'm keeping my eyes on you anyway, just in case the canyon has any surprises." They spent the rest of the day exploring the cavern, noting passages, tunnels, and the faint hum of hidden energy sources. The deeper they went, the stranger and more beautiful the place became. Crystals shimmered in colors they had never seen, and machinery, long dormant, clicked softly as if awakening from a centuries-long sleep. As evening approached, they found a small ledge overlooking the chamber filled with more glowing crystals. The orb floated gently between them, pulsing in a calm rhythm. Cass leaned against the ledge, sighing. I didn't think a desert canyon could be so alive." Lila laughed softly. "It's not just alive, it's aware. I can feel it. The orb responds to us, to our curiosity, maybe even to our intentions." "Are you saying this canyon likes us?" Lila grinned. "I'm saying it trusts us enough to show us its secrets." For a long while they sat there quietly, watching the crystals glow under the twin moons. The canyon whispered promises of adventure, discovery, and mystery, and both of them felt a sense of wonder they had never experienced before. Finally, Cass stood, brushing sand from his pants. "We should set up camp here for the night. Tomorrow we explore deeper." Leela nodded, placing the orb carefully on a flat rock. "Agreed. The canyon has surprises, and I have a feeling it's just getting started." As they prepared their small camp, the twin moons rising above the canyon walls, Cass looked at Lila. "You know, I think this adventure is going to be a lot more fun with you by my side." Lila smiled, her green eyes sparkling in the moonlight. "Don't get used to me keeping you out of trouble, Harper. You still owe me a pretend kiss for that 1 minute." "Fair enough. I'll wait for the right moment." And so, under the twin moons of Iron Ridge, surrounded by humming crystals and ancient machinery, Cass and Lila began the next chapter of their adventure, one filled with curiosity, laughter, and the quiet thrill of discovery. The canyon waited patiently, holding its secrets, ready to reveal them to those who proved themselves worthy. The first light of dawn stretched across the canyon walls, painting the crystals in soft pink and gold. Cass and Lila had spent the night in a small alcove, the orb floating gently between them, casting a calm blue glow that lit the cavern like a quiet star. "This canyon is full of surprises," Lila said as she stretched, brushing sand from her pants. "I feel like it's alive." Cass grinned, adjusting his hat. "Alive and welcoming. Who wouldn't want to explore it?" They packed their supplies carefully, the orb securely floating above a magnetic platform on Cass's hoverbike. Leela climbed on hers, the twin suns already warming the desert outside. Today's plan was simple. Follow the orb's guidance to reach the hidden sky mine, a place the projection had hinted at, full of glowing crystals and ancient machinery. As they soared out of the canyon, the desert stretched endlessly. Red sands shimmered in the morning light, distant mesas rising like islands in an ocean of gold. Robotic herds wandered quietly, their polished hides reflecting sunlight. Occasionally, Lila adjusted the orb's interface, following the holographic markers it projected in the air. "This map is incredible," she said. "It's showing paths we'd never notice on our own. Safe routes, hidden tunnels, and even energy currents beneath the desert. Whoever made this wanted us to get there." Cass laughed softly. "Lucky for us, I love following directions, even if they lead to strange canyons." In the middle of nowhere. Hours passed as they rode, the orb pulsing softly between them, almost like a heartbeat. They navigated narrow canyons, crossed shallow craters, and skimmed over shimmering plains where the sunlight bounced off crystal fragments embedded in the sand. Every so often they passed small desert settlements where curious faces peeked from windows, waving at the unusual pair on hoverbikes. Around midday, a sudden wind picked up, sand whirling in tall spirals across the plains. Cass slowed his bike, holding steady against the gust. Lila followed suit, adjusting the orb's floating path to keep it stable. "Looks like the desert doesn't want to make it easy for us," Cass said, squinting at the shimmering horizon. Lila laughed softly. "Maybe it's just testing us. Or maybe it's excited we're here." As they rode through the swirling sand, the orb pulsed brighter, projecting a faint trail of light in front of them. The trail led to a series of strange rock formations, shaped almost like towers rising out of the sand. "Looks like a natural obstacle course," Cass muttered, steering his bike carefully between the towers. "Or someone's idea of a challenge." Lila grinned. "Either way, it's kind of fun. Keeps us alert." The rock formations gave way to a shallow valley where small streams of crystal-clear water shimmered under the twin suns. The orb pulsed rapidly, pointing them toward a distant ridge. Cass and Lila followed, feeling the excitement build. This was no ordinary canyon. The landscape seemed alive, responding to their presence, guiding them towards something extraordinary. By late afternoon, they reached a cliff overlooking a vast expanse of desert. In the distance, faint structures glimmered, ancient machinery half buried in sand, glowing faintly as if waiting for discovery. "The sky mine," Lila whispered, eyes wide. "We made it." Cass grinned. "And without getting lost in the process." "That orb is smarter than I thought." They landed their hoverbikes on the cliff's edge, the wind gently cooling their faces. The orb hovered between them, pulsing with a steady, calming rhythm. As they looked at the glowing structures below, they noticed patterns in the light, like signals, guiding them to safe paths down to the mine. "Looks like we're not done exploring yet," Cass said, eyes sparkling with excitement. "The canyon led us here, and now the mine is showing us the way." "It's amazing and strange, almost like it wants us to find something specific." Carefully, they descended into the valley, stepping over small crystal outcrops that glimmered under their boots. The machinery below was unlike anything they had seen. Large gears embedded in the sand, glowing conduits of energy snaking through the ground, and towers of crystal pulsing in rhythm with the orb. "This place, it's alive, just like the canyon," Lila said. "I can feel it. Every piece of machinery, every crystal, it's connected." The orb is the key. Cass watched as Lila approached a massive crystal, running her hands lightly over its smooth surface. The orb pulsed brighter in response, sending a gentle hum through the ground. "Think it's talking to us?" Cass asked, tilting his head. Not talking," Lila said thoughtfully. "Guiding, teaching, showing us how it works." They spent hours exploring the sky mine, discovering tunnels lined with glowing crystals, chambers filled with dormant machinery, and strange symbols etched into walls. Each new discovery made them more curious, and each step felt like uncovering a story long forgotten. As the sun began to set, casting golden light across the desert, Cass and Lila paused on a ridge overlooking the mine. The orb floated between them, pulsing softly, as if content with their progress. "You know," Cass said, his voice quiet, "I never imagined finding a place like this. And I didn't imagine I'd be exploring it with you." Lila glanced at him, her eyes reflecting the soft glow of the orb. "I didn't either," she admitted, "but I'm glad we are. This feels right." Cass smiled, brushing a hand over the back of his neck. "You know, I think the canyon and the orb, they brought us here together for a reason." Lila laughed softly. "You mean for adventure, or for you to keep teasing me?" "Mostly both." As night fell over the sky mine, the twin moons rising above the desert, the orb's glow brightened, illuminating hidden pathways that would have been impossible to see otherwise. Cass and Lila realized the mine was far larger than they had thought, stretching deep into the desert, full of secrets yet to be uncovered. "Tomorrow," Lila said, "we go deeper. See what else the orb wants us to find." Cass nodded, looking at the glowing paths before them. "I can't wait. And maybe tomorrow we'll finally finish that pretend kiss." Lila rolled her eyes, laughing. "We'll see about that." They set up a small camp on the ridge, the orb floating between them, pulsing softly like a gentle heartbeat. As they sat together, watching the desert glow under the twin moons, a sense of excitement and curiosity filled the air. The sky mine, with its glowing crystals and humming machinery, promised adventure and discovery, and they were ready to explore every corner of it together. The night was quiet, except for the soft hum of the orb and the distant sound of shifting sands. Cass and Lila shared stories of their past adventures, laughed at their near misses, and marveled at the glowing world beneath them. "Tomorrow," Cass said, "we see what secrets this place really holds." Lila smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "And we figure out why the orb chose us. I have a feeling this is just the beginning." Under the twin moons, surrounded by the glow of crystals and ancient machinery, Cass and Lila knew one thing for sure. The sky mine held wonders beyond their imagination, and together they were ready to discover them all. The desert whispered around them, carrying secrets of long-forgotten technology, ancient civilizations, and endless possibilities. Cass and Lila's adventure was only just beginning, and the bond between them, built on curiosity, trust, and gentle teasing, grew stronger with every step. As they drifted to sleep under the watchful glow of the orb, neither of them could have imagined the surprises the next day would bring. But one thing was certain. The sky mine, the canyon, and the mysterious orb had chosen them for something extraordinary, and they would face it together, side by side. The first light of dawn spilled across the sky mine, glimmering against the crystals and casting golden streaks across the desert. Cass and Lila woke to a gentle hum from the orb, its soft glow reflecting on their faces. The night had been quiet, filled with whispers of discovery and laughter, but today promised something bigger, something the orb had been leading them toward. "Ready to see what the mine really holds?" Lila asked, her voice tinged with excitement. She brushed her hair back, her green eyes shining in the morning light. Cass grinned, strapping himself onto his hover bike. "I've been ready since we left Iron Ridge. Lead the way, Captain Vance." "Huh." Lila laughed, shaking her head at his playful tone. "Fine, but no shortcuts this time. The orb seems to want us to follow the exact path." The orb floated ahead, pulsing brighter with every turn they made. Its soft hum seemed almost alive, guiding them through hidden tunnels lined with glowing crystals. The walls shimmered with faint symbols that Lila studied carefully, tracing their patterns with her fingertips. "These symbols," she whispered. "They're instructions, not just maps, but instructions for activating something. I think the mine itself is alive." Cass looked around, taking in the grandeur of the place. Massive machines, half buried in sand and dust, hummed softly as if waking from a long sleep. Pipes and conduits glowed with soft blue energy, pulsing in rhythm with the orb. "Alive or not, it's amazing," he said, "and it chose the right people to explore it." They reached a massive chamber, the largest they had seen yet. Crystals jutted from the floor and walls like frozen flames, glowing in a spectrum of colors. At the center stood an enormous console, its surface etched with symbols that pulsed in response to the orb's presence. "This is it," Lila said softly, eyes wide. "Whatever the orb wants to show us, it's here." Cass stepped closer, keeping a careful distance. "Looks complicated." "It is, but I think I can make sense of it." She placed her hands on the console, letting the orb hover between her palms. The symbols responded, glowing brighter and shifting in intricate patterns. Slowly, a projection rose from the console, filling the chamber with a holographic image of the canyon, the mine, and a network of tunnels and chambers far beyond what they could see. "It's a map of the entire mine," Lila whispered. "And not just that. It's showing energy flows, hidden pathways, and crystals. The orb wants us to see all of it." Cass leaned in, studying the holographic display. "So the orb's not just guiding us. It's teaching us, showing us how this place works." Lila nodded. "Exactly. Whoever built this place, they left a guide. And I think the orb is part of it." As they explored the chamber, Lila traced her fingers over the holographic symbols. The console hummed in response, and hidden doors slid open silently, revealing smaller rooms filled with strange glowing machinery. Cass and Lila stepped inside, marveling at the delicate balance of technology and natural crystal formations. "These crystals," Lila said, touching one lightly, "they store energy, but not just any energy. It's pure, clean, and powerful. This mine could power entire towns or even a whole city." Cass whistled softly. "No wonder someone hid it here. This isn't just treasure, it's a gift, or maybe a responsibility." The orb floated higher, pulsing urgently. Lila followed its lead, guiding them deeper into the mine. They reached a chamber where the crystals formed a circle around a single, enormous crystal at the center. Its glow was brighter than anything they had seen, and it seemed to resonate with the orb, creating a gentle, harmonious hum that filled the chamber. "This must be the heart of the mine," Lila said. "Everything leads here. Everything feeds from it." Cass stepped closer, his boots making soft echoes on the crystalline floor. "It's beautiful and alive. I can feel it, Lila, like it's aware of us." The orb pulsed rapidly, then floated down to hover directly above the central crystal. Light streamed from the orb into the crystal, and the chamber filled with warmth. The glow reflected off Cass and Lila, making them appear as if they were bathed in sunlight. Cass glanced at Lila, his heart beating a little faster. "You know, after all this, I think the canyon and the orb brought us here together for a reason." Lila looked at him, her lips twitching in a faint smile. "I think so too." The orb pulsed one last time, sending a gentle wave of light across the chamber. The crystals responded, glowing brighter and more vividly than before. The hum of the mine became a harmonious melody, as if the entire place was singing in acknowledgement of their discovery. Cass and Lila stood together, mesmerized by the display. The orb floated between them, its light, soft but steady, as if satisfied with their progress. "You did it, Lila," Cass said quietly. "We did it. We unlocked the mine." Lila laughed softly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "We did it together. The orb. It trusted us." For a long moment they simply stood there, watching the crystals glow and listening to the gentle hum of energy. The mine was no longer a hidden place. It had revealed its heart to them, sharing its beauty and power. Cass glanced at Lila, feeling the quiet connection between them. "You know, I think we deserve that pretend kiss now." "Pretend? After all that?" "I think it can be real this time." Cass leaned in slowly, careful not to startle her. Their lips met in a gentle, tender kiss, filled with the quiet relief of trust, friendship, and shared adventure. The orb pulsed softly above them, as if approving, and the chamber glowed brighter in response. Pulling back slightly, Lila smiled. "Finally," she said, laughter in her voice. "It didn't even take a minute this time." Cass grinned, brushing his hand over hers. Some things are worth waiting for. The sky mine hummed around them, alive and vibrant, and Cass and Lila felt a deep connection, not just to each other, but to the mysteries they had uncovered. After a while, Lila stepped back from the central crystal, her eyes sparkling.
We need to document everything.
This mine, the crystals, the energy flows. We can't keep it a secret forever. Cass nodded, agreed. But for now, let's just enjoy it. We've earned a moment like this. They explored the remaining chambers, noting hidden pathways, glowing tunnels, and machinery that had lain dormant for centuries. The orb followed them faithfully, pulsing softly, almost like a heartbeat that guided their steps. As night fell over the sky mine, Cass and Leela set up a small camp near the central crystal. The glow of the orb and the crystals created a calm, magical atmosphere, filling the chamber with warmth. "You know," Cass said, lying back against a smooth crystal surface, "I never imagined finding a place like this, and I never imagined sharing it with someone like you." Lila laughed softly, settling beside him. "I feel the same. This adventure, it's more than I ever expected. And somehow it feels like we were meant to find it together." They watched the crystals pulse in harmony with the orb, the hum of the mine filling the silence. The twin moons rose in the sky outside, casting gentle light across the cavern through small openings in the rock. "I think the canyon, the sky mine, and the orb, they all wanted us to discover this together," Cass said quietly. Lila smiled, her hand brushing against his. "And we did, side by side." For the first time since their adventure began, they felt a complete sense of wonder, joy, and belonging. The sky mine had revealed its secrets, and in doing so it had strengthened their bond, showing them that curiosity, trust, and friendship could uncover even the deepest mysteries. The orb floated gently above them, pulsing softly like a heartbeat, and the crystals shimmered in response. The sky mine was alive, and Cass and Lila were part of its story now. As they drifted to sleep under the soft glow of the orb and the twin moons, Cass whispered quietly, "This is only the beginning." "The beginning of what?" Cass grinned, already imagining the adventures ahead. "Of everything." And in the heart of the sky mine, surrounded by glowing crystals, humming machinery, and the soft light of the orb, a new chapter of discovery, friendship, and quiet adventure had begun. The canyon, the sky mine, and the mysterious orb had revealed their secrets, but they had also shown something greater. That wonder, connection, and curiosity could lead to discoveries far beyond imagination. And for Cass and Lila, the adventure would continue, side by side, in a world where the Wild West and the stars collided in the most extraordinary ways.